Hi, I'm Dr. Ellen Stofan, also known as Dr. E.
And I'm Dr. Thomas Serbuk, and also known as Dr. Z, and we're here with another episode of Easy Science, focused on the science of the next mission to Mars called Perseverance. Before we get there, tell us about where we are.
So we're at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center, which is one of our two National Air and Space Museums, but we're back behind the scenes of the museum, actually. This is what's called the Dulles Collection Center. It's where we store aircraft and spacecraft that we don't have room for out on the floor, partially because we're renovating our building on the National Mall, but it's also where we get new acquisitions. We come in, make sure they're in good condition. In the case of this guy, this is the testbed rover that was used for the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, so it's an exact copy. One of the things we're having to work on with our conservators is not to clean all the red dust off of it, because JPL had this operating in a testbed that exactly simulated the Martian surface. So that red dust on this is Earth dust, but it's history.
What did we learn from Spirit and Opportunity that really set us up to do Perseverance?
So with all of our orbiters and rovers that NASA as well as the international community has had at Mars, we've really been doing something that we like to call follow the water. And Spirit and Opportunity really laid the groundwork of understanding very early in Mars's history. Mars was wet. And you don't only want to know that Mars was wet. If you're thinking about could Mars have hosted life, you're also really asking questions about how long did the water stay? What kind of water? Was it very acidic? Was it very basic? Were the conditions conducive to life? And Spirit and Opportunity really set us on the path. Yes, there was water. Yes, it persisted for quite some time.
So in February, mid-February next year, we're going to land in a place called Jezero Crater, 28 miles in diameter. Now, talk to us about the environment of that crater. Why is that the right place to go?
So with our orbiters above, we looked for minerals, types of rock that we know are associated with water. In this case, clays. So if people have clay in their backyard, you know it's a heavy, wet type of material. Okay, we've found a lot of clays in Jezero Crater. We know at one point in time there was probably a river flowing into it, there were lake deposits, so we know it wasn't only just wet, but that water was there for a long period of time. So it's the perfect place to go to get to this next step of, okay, we know Mars was wet, we know it had water for a long time. Were the conditions conducive to the evolution of life?
That's really exciting. And you know, the one thing I also learned from researchers just like you is when you land there, there's many different, what they call geological units, many different parts of the Mars history within driving distance, which really allows us to take samples of that Mars history and really bottle it up and bring it back to the best labs that we have available, which are the labs here on Earth.
Each of those layers of rock in that crater are like pages in a history book. So each one preserves a specific amount of time. The type of rock and the chemistry of those rocks really tells you what was Mars like at that exact point in time. So the Perseverance rover is going to have all kinds of instruments on it that are really going to be interrogating each of those rock layers and saying, what happened when?
Here's a question we received from our audience. Will we have Mars weather data from Perseverance? Mars weather report isn't very interesting from just one source. Just one source, of course, he's talking about InSight.
Right, InSight, and we get a little bit of data from Curiosity. Now, Mars has a lot more simple weather than the Earth does, but just think if you only had weather data from Cleveland, Ohio, and nowhere else on the planet. When we're trying to understand weather, and then the next step of understanding climate, you really need to understand what's happening globally. This is really important because studying weather and climate on other planets, we turn around and use that information to help us improve weather and climate models here for our own planet. It really helps to have something to compare this planet to. So we're excited that Perseverance is going to have a state-of-the-art, sophisticated weather instrumentation measuring humidity, wind, temperature, pressure, all the kind of things we measure at a weather station here on Earth. So stay tuned and you'll start getting slightly better weather reports from Mars.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's just that this is just so many of the other instruments, an internationally built instrument. I think what we're often missing is we, of course, in the United States at NASA are fortunate to lead these missions, but we have a number of international contributions, including this one from Spain, amongst other countries that we're bringing there.
Is there something about Perseverance that you think I can't wait to find this out?
The question whether or not there's extinct life or kind of microbial life even there now, for me, results that help us with that one way or the other, frankly, but help us understand that question better. I've really enjoyed this discussion about the next Mars rover called Perseverance. And what's really important to me when we think about Perseverance is also the time we're in. This has been a tough time for the teams that built Perseverance, but also for the whole world for a variety of reasons. And the word perseverance, when the high school student in Burke, Virginia came up with it, that was a really cool name, but it's so much more meaningful for all of us. Are you feeling that way?
I agree. It exemplifies to me what NASA is all about, and to me it's a huge model for this country. We don't give up, we keep trying, and when humans really put their minds to it, they can solve any problem. And I think that's a really important message for the country right now.
And I love that we recorded this in the environment full of history. Some of these stories are very difficult, and some of the stories are just full of perseverance. And I just want to tell you, I just look forward to coming back for another episode of
Easy Science.